As a cool breeze begins to usher out the heat of a California summer, I am once again reminded of the fact that fall is upon us. This feeling of impending cold weather and rainy days is a very special one that only comes once a year. For some, it may be bittersweet to say goodbye to the warm climate of a summer day, but for myself, I am filled with a sense of excitement unparalleled by any other time of the year. Fall and winter bring lots of fun events, such as Thanksgiving with all of its delicious foods, or Christmas with its cheery attitude and nostalgic decorations. But of all the things to happen in fall, there is but one event that holds the most significance for people like me. That is none other than the Fall 2020 seasonal anime selection. With so many delays due to COVID over the summer, we were a bit starved for new anime content, and while that did create the perfect opportunity to catch up on old shows, it left a lot to be desired for those who like to keep up to date with the currently airing shows. However, this fall boasts a robust and diverse selection of new anime for us to enjoy. Obviously, like anyone else, between college, social obligations, and working on YouTube, I have far from infinite time, and as such, I can't be out here watching every single show that airs any given season. So instead of discussing every new show of Fall 2020, I just want to take some time to talk about the top 3 shows that have beaten all the competition and won my viewership for Fall 2020. So let's start off the first seasonal showdown with my top 3 Fall 2020 anime. Starting off at the bottom, we have my number 3 pick, Tonikawa Over the Moon for You. Tonikawa is a strange new take on romance anime, but before we get into that, let's look at the backdrop of the series. Our protagonist, Nasa Yuzaki, has spent his entire life being lightly teased for his name, which is of course in reference to NASA, the USA's space program. Because of this unfortunate name, he has resolved to be over-the-top incredible at everything he does, so that his name will no longer live in the shadow of NASA. In his quest to become an extremely successful person through means of education, he is determined never to let his guard down for anything, and he will solve any problem he faces head on with sheer fucking resolve. And this is going pretty well for him too. He was consistently scoring top of his class and seems to have extensive knowledge of business practices for a middle schooler. At the beginning of the show, he has no doubts whatsoever that he will be accepted into one of the most prestigious schools in all of Japan. His attitude of determination mixed with confidence has held him to a strict schedule and routine that has been meticulously calculated down to the smallest details. That is until he stumbles upon a mysterious girl who he finds so beautiful that all of his planning and all of his routines are thrown out the window. Haphazardly, he runs into the middle of a busy street to try and call out to her, but like any isekai protagonist that sets their foot onto a road, he is swiftly hit by a massive truck. Unlike an isekai protagonist, however, his life is spared, somehow thanks to that beautiful girl. She mysteriously stops the blow of the truck from killing him and helps him out of the street. Before he succumbs to his injuries, he tries to ask her out, to which she replies, yes, on one condition. She will go out with him, but only if he agrees to marry her right here, right now. And of course, to this, without hesitation, he enthusiastically agrees, and then promptly passes out in the snow, presumably from all the blood loss. 3 years go by from that day, and NASA isn't quite the same determined, future-focused kid as he used to be. After he passed out that night, Tsukasa, the mysterious girl, disappeared, which left NASA pretty depressed. That is until she shows up at his front door those 3 years later with marriage paperwork in hand. The two go to the ward office, finalize their marriage, and the show goes from there. What I really love about this show is the dynamic between the main couple. The fact that they're married from the first episode gives a really interesting and new perspective on romance anime that you don't get to see anywhere else. Many anime try to focus on the courting aspect of a relationship and then have the main couple get together in the end as an emotional payoff. However, here, there's almost no courting before they are a married couple, so most of the show is dedicated to them feeling each other out and learning how to live together as a married couple who barely know each other. Now, this show is very cute, by the way. The dynamic between Nasa and Tsukasa is extremely fun, and the character designs are really well drawn. However, it ranks number 3 because it seems that the show is interested in showing a bit more than just the couple's odd life. While for some this may be a good thing, I was really specifically interested in seeing the interaction between the main couple and how they'll come to terms with their new life. They obviously have a shared bond that's strong enough to support their living conditions, and I would argue that that bond is entertaining enough to support the entire show. However, from what I've seen up to episode 4, it looks like the direction is going to be a little bit more out there and less slice of life. Now, don't get me wrong, this direction direction makes perfect sense for the mystery that they've been setting up around Tsukasa. It's just that personally, I'm really in it for the main couple, so any time taken away from those two is less fun in my book. That said, the mystery elements are very interesting, and even though they may not be my favorite aspect of the plot, I'm really interested to see where they lead. So if you like romance, this one's definitely for you. Next up, coming in at number 2, is Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle. Now, this is actually one that I'm familiar with. I first saw it in the back of a Komi Can't Communicate volume as a crossover ad they did where they put Komi in the setting of this anime. It was a fun little short, and I figured I might pick up the manga, but before I got around to reading it, it was already animated. This anime stars, as the title might imply, a very sleepy princess. Unfortunately, she's been captured by the Demon King and just can't seem to get enough rest in her luxurious prison cell. So naturally, the show follows her wacky escapades through various fantasy settings that you would expect to find in a demon castle, but instead of getting loot like armor or weapons, the princess is solely interested in items that will increase her quality of sleep. Now, I'll spare you the details here because all of the jokes land better in the show itself, but this is a really good comfy comedy show. At times, it gives off Konosuba vibes, so if that show was your thing, then you may find something to like here as well. It also serves as a very relaxing show to end the day with. I found that this is the perfect lighthearted comedy affair to wind down with and have a nice cup of tea too. This one edges out Tonikawa because it really scratches a certain itch of a cozy comedy that doesn't leave me wanting more of any one aspect. It promises fun times with a sleepy princess, and that's exactly what you get. Last and certainly not least is my absolute favorite show of this season, coming in at number 1 by a landslide, Adachi and Shimamura. Adachi and Shimamura is another romance show, but this time the starring couple is actually a pair of girls, so this is technically a Yuri show. However, that being the case, I wouldn't get your hopes up for tasteless fan service or raunchy scenes, because this show seems to be taking its subject matter a bit more seriously than other shows in its genre. The show centers around 2 high school girls that are both known slackers. Neither one is particularly interested in classes, and as such, they'll often sneak off to parts of the school where they can pass the time. You see, Adachi doesn't really go to school much though, and as a result, she doesn't have many friends. But all that changes when she finds Shimamura at her favorite place to hide on the off chance she is at school. The two strike up a game of ping pong and start to become friendly with each other. And over the course of the show, we get to see the two really deepen their bond and their feelings for each other. I really like this show specifically for Adachi. While I can't say I fully relate to every aspect of her situation, I can absolutely empathize with and understand her confusion surrounding her sexuality. This show takes time and care to display Adachi's inner conflict over her growing feelings for Shimamura, and it handles it in a way that I've seen no other anime do so well. The viewer gets to see her rationalizing her thoughts and feelings into heterosexual contexts, but then ultimately feel pain at those conclusions. It's a very realistic depiction of what it's like to come to terms with those thoughts, especially when you're all on your own to figure them out. As someone who's bisexual myself, her experience in the first 4 episodes struck just about every gay chord in my body, and it brought me so much happiness to finally see an anime that's treating its LGBTQ characters like actual LGBTQ people, not just playing around with the concept of Yuri for the hell of it. I really hope that this show leans hard into this aspect and gives us a really good piece of queer media for anime fans, because while there may be lots of shows that toy with ideas of same-sex couples, none that I have seen make such an effort to really understand those characters and write them in a realistic way. As a side note, if you know any show that handles its gay characters in realistic manners like this, leave them in the comments below, because I would love to give them a watch. Lesbians aside, however, there is much more to love about Adachi and Shimamura than just its excellent characterization of Adachi. The visuals in this show are confusingly amazing. While at first it seems like it's going to be a very grounded, realistic portrayal of these two characters' lives, it makes it clear that there is something more going on. That aspect of mystery is introduced by a child in a spacesuit, who seems to have some sort of connection to Shimamura. Spacesuit Kid goes on and on about destiny and the like, but what's really interesting is whenever they're on screen somehow, the visuals always end up getting a bit otherworldly? These surreal visuals are not only gorgeous, but they allude to a much more detail-rich subplot that will likely expand over the course of the series, and I really can't wait to see that happen. Now, I know that my number 3 pick, Tonikawa, lost points for diverting focus from the relationship, and here I am praising it in Adachi and Shimamura. But here, the subplot is integrated in a way that is much more befitting of the tone as compared to Tonikawa, where things are getting a bit over the top. Either way though, this is definitely my favorite pick of the season, and I hope you'll give it a try. So, there you have it. those are my top picks for fall 2020. These are just the anime that I've really been vibing with this season, but there are plenty more to choose from. To those of you who prefer more action-oriented anime, there are certainly some great picks for you this season. But honestly, with everything going on in the world right now, I've been finding relaxed anime much more enjoyable to watch. That said, if you have any recommendations of your own this season, leave them in the comments below. If there's a show you think I missed that I would really enjoy, I'd love to hear about it. And if commenting isn't your thing, feel free to hit me up on Twitter too. DMs are always open. So that just about covers it for the first seasonal showdown. If you guys like this format, I'll do one for the upcoming winter season in January, and all the subsequent seasons in 2021. And with that, you've made it to the end of the video. If you liked what I had to say, please be sure to leave me a like so I know I'm doing something right. If you want to catch more of my videos, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload. Also, if it interests you, I have a Twitter and an Instagram. Links to those will be below. But with all that YouTube stuff out of the way, I just want to say thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.